Hello! Welcome to Bad at Board Games. My name's Brad Lake, and I'm bad at board games, so you don't have to be. Today, we're going to be talking about Rats of Wistar. Not Windstar, not Windstar, Wistar. Evidently, there is a lab called Wistar, and they had to put a little legal notification in here as an adder that says they are not associated with that lab. Thought that was kind of funny. So stick around, find out what my BGG rating is, find out what my value rating is the money worth the game, pros, cons, who's this for, all those fun things, and let's get going. The designer and publisher we've got this is Cranial Creations, CG Games publishing this. It is designed by Danila Sabia, sorry for butchering your name, and Simone Luciani, and we know I like him as a designer. So what do I think about this wonderful game? Is it good or bad? The theme, the rats have gotten smart from all the lab studies and experiments that they've been subjected to, and they've escaped, and now they live on this farm and infest? Probably not infest. They're like little human people now. They live on the farm, and they live down underneath the farmland and in the house and trying to stay away from the cats and all that kind of stuff. For you old people, it's the secrets of NIM. So the mechanics, they're just saying this has, let's see, 3 events, variable setup, and worker placement. Now, I think there's a lot more going on, and I think the mechanics is kind of where this shines. We've got this rondelle, and as you see these 3 different sections, this below area, this section to the what is that? Your left, the section over here to the right, you get to take one of 2 actions in here when you do take your worker and place it on the wheel. But the number of times you get to take that action, which is here or here, and then subsequently a sub action inside the wheel, is multiplied by the number of mice that you have on the outside of the wheel, and you can move these mice around. So it's a really interesting mechanic, and as Derek was saying, he hasn't really seen a game that has this, and I would agree. I understand what they're doing, but the way they've combined this in with this wheel, and the wheel turns every round, so you're not going to get the same number of places. You may only get 1 when you wanted more than 1, or the first person that gets this, because it's sitting here, is going to be able to take the movement action, some things like that. So that's a really, really interesting mechanic. You're going to have 3 workers that you're going to place on that wheel, and then that signifies a round. You're going to have 5 rounds kind of thing. All these areas on the board are variable. You're going to have different cards as you explore these rooms. Variable game objectives, first person to reach it, the race kind of objective points down here at the bottom. And then you have your tableau, which doesn't vary, but you can unlock it, and there's several points by getting all your mice to wake up and getting all your rooms and building out more of your rat hole, whatever. But yeah, so I think there's more than 3 mechanics going on here, but this mechanic with the wheel and the multiplier, depending on how many mice you have out, I think is very unique and kind of what sets this game apart. Player count, this is 1 to 4. We, most of the time when we're doing these reviews, we haven't had a chance to play single player, but it does have it, just can't talk about it. Player count, done 2, and we've done 4. Haven't had a problem with any of those. 2, a lot of these rooms, and there's different pie sections that you're going to use at 2. You're going to add a little bit more at 3, and then you get the whole enchilada at 4. It didn't take long to play at 4, so I'm always to me, this is any player count kind of game then, between 2 and 4. And then if you're interested in the theme. The solo doesn't look too bad, but I can't talk to it. The game time, we took, let's see, it took us less than 3 hours with the teach. I'd say this is probably around, and we ended early. So, this is like 4 players took less than 2 hours with the teach. So maybe like 90 minutes in that time frame. This is one of those games where you have 5 rounds. Each round you're playing 3 workers. So there's not a lot of actions. You're going to have 15 worker placement actions. And then they can kind of chain out, but it's not like this super chaining event. But you're going to be able to take more actions depending on how many mice you have. So if you have like 5 mice over here, you're going to be able to take 5 movement points and then get 5 of these wild resources, or 5 of that other action there. So it lets you have more as you're going along the game, but it didn't really slow down the game. Let's see. All right, turn overview. So you have 3 workers. You're going to take one of these workers and place it on one of the pie sections that are located on the board. However, you're not going to want to place your worker where you don't have any mice, because then you won't really be able to take those actions. If I go up here, I've got a mouse in this big section here, and that'll allow me to take the movement action or draw cards for the innovation cards. And I can do that. I can take 2 cards, or I can take 2 movement actions, and then the sub action kind of lets me like prioritize. Do I want more resources? It's kind of hard for me to see what these others are, but you get the idea there. Down here doesn't do me anything because I don't have any mice. If I go over there, I only have 1 mouse, and so I can get a resource for wood. The other one lets me unlock my tableau and basically dig out more rooms on my tableau that get me victory points as I go on. So you're trying to decide that. You also have and can gain some of these movement tokens, which allow you to move the mouse prior to placing your worker, or you can do it at any time during your turn. There are also moving mouse symbols here. So, if you went here, you could decide, I'm going to move the mouse first, and then that's going to give me another multiplier. I may have 2. I can move 3 out there. And then I'll be able to take this 3 card action instead of just 2. So there's different ways within your turn. It lets you determine turn order once you do that. And so you've just got several different actions you can take on your turn. You can collect wood. You can dig rooms, which unlock your tableau. You can collect metal gears, which is down here. And then building beds is another unlocking your tableau. And then this gives you're basically waking up the mice that are there and putting them in your queue so that then you can put them out on the board. But you have to have a place for your bed to go. That's why you want to dig rooms out. And then let's see, what else we got? We have developing projects, which is buying cards. And then to be able to play the cards, you need the resources to do so. And then exploring, so this action here allows you to take and move through the building here. So it just has all these different and interconnected things because it is tight. Now, the one thing I would say strategically you want to do to help your players out is that on your board, you're going to think, oh, I want to get the mice out so that I can do multiplier actions. That's what I did. But you really need to focus on digging out and creating more rooms first, and to make sure, because you can have some pretty powerful turns. You could end up with like 5 mice over here, and then you could wake up a bunch of mice, or you could end up with like 3 mice over here, and you're like, I want to wake up 3 mice on my tableau, but I don't have enough space to put them in the rooms. So this is where I think maybe some frustration could be. So you're going to want to focus on creating rooms before putting mice out on the board, because this is kind of a limiter in the game. Now, there's other ways you can do it if you decide to just fully start exploring. Ashby came back at the end and like was able to create a lot of space on his tableau and then play a lot of mice. So what he did in his engine was getting cards and getting resources and trying to get cards that let him, I'm going to be able to get one action for free every turn, or I'm going to be able to get a resource for free every turn. So he was focusing on creating that kind of an engine, and then at the end he was able to really like, I'm going to open up 6 rooms at once. I'm going to wake up 6 mice at once. Things like that. So there are a couple different ways to go about it, but you definitely want to let people understand, like, you're going to get stuck if you're going for the mice first. You're going to get stuck, and then you're going to have to, it's going to slow you down. Then you're going to have to come back and try to get an engine to open the rooms, and then you're going to go back to try to getting the mice over. It's definitely one of those things that you'll want to watch out for and give your game group a hint about. Careful. So talked about playtime. We talked about the turn. Pros and cons. So pros, I really like this action selection. I like the little wooden mice. I like unlocking my tableau. I like the fact that as you put more of your mice out here, that you get a more powerful action. It's just like any other worker placement game. You are going to have a race to try to get to the spot that you want before somebody else does. And then you may realize, I can't go there yet because I need to get this resource. So I got to go here first. And then you're hoping upon hope that Ashby doesn't get there before you. Ashby and Derek both locked me out in the last part of the game. So yeah. So that's definitely a pro. I would have liked to been able to explore more through the house than I ended up doing. And I think that's because, like I was saying, I was trying to get the workers out on the board, and I got into this loop of I can't quite do what I want to do, and wasn't able to create a bit of an engine. So it was more and more powerful each round. I finally did get all my mice out, but it was to the detriment of, I just got into this slow down phase kind of a thing. Other pros, it's whimsical. I love the little story. I love like reading some of the cards. You got robot cats and robot owls, and I don't know, all these neat things with the invention cards are fun to look at. I like the wild resource, but these wild resources are more for the same shape, this hexagon that you've got on the different spots where you can put something out. There's a lot going on, and there's definitely a game here. Like, don't let the whimsy make you feel like this is like a 2-weight game. This is solidly a 3. We'll get into that into the weight rating, but there's definitely a game here, and once again, it doesn't take super long to teach. It doesn't take super long to play. All good things. So on to the cons. The wheel is great in play. Manufacturing wise, the wheel location is horrible. If you notice, there's a split line right here. The reason this split line is on this board is to fit in this tiny box. Every time you want to put this game away, you're going to have to unscrew this thing, not lose the screw, make sure it goes in a baggie, otherwise you're going to be effed, and then put it away. And then when you get it back out, you're going to have to put it back together. So is that hard? No. Could they have moved this up so that you would have never had to take that apart after it got sent to you? Yes, they could have. And I don't think it would have destroyed the graphic art that much. Or they could have moved the art around a little bit. Somebody really, really wasn't thinking when they created that. Or they should have made it a magnet. I've seen them make magnets now, and they could have done that. I'll pay the extra $2 for a magnet. Anyway, that's a con. It can feel a bit linear. I don't know all the lines to victory, but you definitely need, even Jill had an issue where, it's like trying to get enough space for the mice that you're trying to wake up and get out on the board and get things going. So it's not that you're going to do bad, but if you're kind of wanting to win or, get up there and everything like that, that is definitely something you have to do. Now, if you're exploring first and with that in mind, and trying to come in at turn 4, turn 5, but you gotta realize it's still going to be create the rooms, wake up the mice, and then you're going to have some pretty powerful moves going out on the board. Then if you try to do it the opposite way, you get stuck. So that kind of makes it linear a bit. A couple of different paths to victory, so to speak. And I think you'll have fun while you're doing that, but that may limit how many times you want to pull this out. Unsure. Let's see. That's about all the cons I have. Not a lot of cons. Setup. This was not horrible to set up. You've got several chits on your board. And then all these, I don't have them all on here. You got all these token pieces that have to go on your board. And then they're randomizing all of the rooms that you put out. So it's not horrible. It's not great. It's probably 15-20 minute setup. If you're setting everybody's stuff up, if you have people show up and you're like, here, make the board like that, it'll take less time. And then our weight rating. So BGG is saying this is a 3.3. So I just reviewed Windmill Valley. I thought I had it up there, but I do not. I just reviewed Windmill Valley, and this made me feel more like that. And that one's a little bit under 3. I would have said this is around 3. I could see they're saying it's 3.33 out of 5. And I think that's probably because you can get stuck. Like I said, it's got a linear way, almost linear. Like you're going to want to make sure you're doing it this way so that you don't get stuck. And maybe that's why people are saying it's a 3. It's like, I got stuck and I couldn't unlock and I couldn't do these things. I don't think that makes it heavier. I just think it means it's kind of punishing if you don't go this direction. So I'm going to say this is about a 3 weight. And I think Windmill Valley is more of an entry level, bring people into Euro games than this. So I could see why this might be a little bit heavier, but I'm still saying it's around a 3. The teach, Derek taught this. I read through the rules. I think that at a 5, like a 5, it would take you like an hour to teach this or more. A 1, we're talking like 5 minutes. This is a 2.5. This is like a half an hour, maybe. It's not super difficult, but it's just trying to explain to people you got 5 rounds. You're going to take your worker, so if people understand worker placement, they're going to get it. And then just telling them what each one of these things do. There is a cheat sheet, so people can kind of get a bit of an understanding. So I think this is a 2.5, 30 minutes or less teach, depending on your group and how gamer they are or are not. Value rating. So Miniature Market has this at $55. Fairly small box. There's quite a bit in the box, so I got to give them kudos for that, using cards and things, so that probably took up less room. Getting the board into a small box, but then screwing up that part. Changes could have been made. But $55, if this were $10, I'd say it's an absolute 5 out of 5. Great rating. If this were $100, I'd probably say it was a 1. It's too much for the experience you're getting, and the pieces you're getting, even though the pieces are nice and they basically using the same little mice from Root. I'm going to say this is about a 4, I think. For the game you're getting and the whimsy and the fun, and the Euro game, and something new. I really did enjoy this mechanic. I thought that was pretty cool. I think this is a 4 out of 5. I think for the 50, if you're, for me anymore, if you're sitting around $50 and it's a good game, it's going to be hard pressed for me to say it's anything less than a 4. If the game's okay, it's like 3, but I think for the game you're getting out of this, it's a 4 out of 5 for your money. BGG Rating. So we've got 2,000 people that have rated this on BGG. They're sitting this at a 7.6, which is, we're close to an 8, 7.5. If we really want to like split the number, people are saying I don't think this is a 9. I don't think this is like, go out, go get it. You have to go get it. But at the same time, I don't think it's a 7. I personally think this is sitting at, for me, I think this is an 8. I would recommend this game. I'm hitting a lot of 8s lately. I almost feel like I need to find something crappy so I can be like, this is 6. I hate it. But this game, I enjoyed it. I really, like I said, reading some of these cards and looking at some of this, like this one's the computer room and it's got a little mouse with computers. It's like, all those cute kind of things. And while you're enjoying playing a good thinky game, and how am I going to do this? And you got a limited amount of time. You've got 5 turns. So it's like, wow, you start out like really feeling like you're not going to do a lot at the beginning of this game. And then at the end, you got like 5 or 6 of your mice out. And then it's like, whoa, I can do a whole bunch. So if you can kind of see that and you can kind of be like, okay, I can make these big changes. Like I was able to wake up all my mice in like 1 turn. Unfortunately, 2 out of the other 4 players, all 4 of us, did the same thing. So I wasn't getting ahead of them on that side of the victory points. But had I not done that, I would have been that much further behind on my victory points. So I enjoyed it, and what can I say? And the time, like I'm still back into some of these. Like if it's a 3-hour game, I better really enjoy it. This is a good game, and it didn't take 5 hours. So getting into that 90 minutes, 2-hour range, and the teach and stuff, just like it's always refreshing to me. When we can pull that off. Let's see. BGG ranking, my ranking did that. Who's this for? Who's this not for? This one's going to be a little bit tougher because it kind of rides that fine line between, hey, this is a Euro. I don't know if this is an entry Euro, and it's, the whimsy kind of can put some people off, but I think it can draw people in. Think of like Everdale and things like that. But this is going to be harder than Everdale, with the mechanics and it's tighter, right? So that's a difficult question. I'm kind of stumped. I think if you're looking for, if you like games that have like finite end turns, it's going to be 5 turns, you're done. And it feels like that is coming up so fast, right? If you like that kind of game and you want that, not necessarily pressure, but you're like, how am I going to try to get all this stuff done in that amount of time, and then realize it's going to, like, you're going to get 1 action, then you're going to get 2, and then you're going to get 3, and then you're going to get 5 by the end, right? If you like that mechanic, if that's something that's interesting to you, I would say that's for you. If you're looking for something that's kind of a new mechanic, a new take on a mechanic, at least with this not rondelle worker placement thing, that's cool. And then I think if you have some people that like, oh, I don't want farming and I don't want bread, and like, hey, here's something fun. We all were enjoying and laughing at the cards as we're playing. That's this game. You're gonna have some of that in there. I think there's other games I would bring in to somebody before you're trying to do an entry level Euro than this. I would probably find something a little bit in the 2.5, 2.75 range before you throw somebody into this Euro. But this is also not a 4. So what do you think? This was on the hotness for a little bit. I kind of snubbed it. I don't know if I snubbed it. I just been watching what I spend my money on, and it's all going to Star Wars Unlimited because I'm a tool. But what do we like about this game? you know, what do you like about this game? I'd really be interested. Did you buy it? Are you interested in it? I can definitely recommend it. And if you do get it, let me know if you like it. So just remember, no matter how you play, whether it's solo, with family, or friends, enjoy whatever you are bringing to the table. Have a great night. Bye.